To the Central Florida Computer Society main meeting, as it's called, for April 10th, 2022. We are going to be doing a tech sig type round robin, nothing scheduled or planned, no set speakers or whatever. We'll go around the room. Anybody who has some thoughts or issues or questions, feel free to bring them up. Interesting articles or websites, whatever. And I need a pit stop, so talk amongst yourself. I'll be back in 2 or 3, and then we'll start off the meeting for sure. Okay, I'll take my cup with me and get some more soda. Be back shortly.
I was gonna say I'll moderate a Q&A if anybody has questions.
Well, I hope some people got something out of the Windows thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was worth a bundle. Let me tell you, you're a jewel for sure. I'm glad I don't have to pay for this because I don't think I could afford it. You're really good, Huey. Good soul.
I did get a new phone. I did get a new phone this week. And in order to get a new phone, I had to get a new plan. If I stayed with AT&T, my plan would have gone from, I was paying $142 a month, would have gone to over $200.
Wow.
But I would have gotten $800 back towards my phone, towards a $1,200 phone, which was a pretty good savings. But my monthly bill would have gone up so much, they would have eaten that up in a heartbeat. So I went to T-Mobile and I got the phone I wanted. They only gave me $400 for my phone, but I got the plan down. It's going to be, including the phone, is going to be $118 a month instead of $142 plus the phone, plus whatever increase I had to pay. So I'm saving myself about $100 a month, including a brand new top of the line phone.
Did you actually buy the phone, or is the phone portioned in the plan?
It's included in the price monthly for 24 months.
Yeah, there you go.
And you got insurance with that too, I'm sure, as part of the plan.
No, that was another $20 a month.
Oh, really? That does bring up a question, though. You know, when we talked earlier about using all the Microsoft apps in the cloud instead of having to connect to the internet online, I wonder if you can use those apps through your internet provider, whoever that might be, and as long as you have access that way. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not quite sure, but I think if you watch Tech for Seniors tomorrow or watch the video I post, what you're going to see is how I can have my phone on my screen and actually run any app on my phone on my computer.
Yeah, I think you've hit on it. So the idea, even if you're in like some hotel where you don't have internet access and all you have is your phone, and although you wouldn't have a lot of capability, you might still be able to access through your provider.
No, that's not.
Couldn't do that.
That's not what I'm saying. But okay. Yeah, with my phone, with any phone, you can go to the browser and then go to Microsoft, go to office.com and run Word and Excel or PowerPoint. I'm not sure what other programs you're talking about.
Yeah, just Word, PowerPoint, the typical ones that you would have.
Any of those you can run on your phone in the cloud. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cheryl's got a question.
Well, Huey, I did wonder what features. To me, that price sounds high. Actually, I have AT&T and it's about $40 a month, and I get like 12 gigs of data. Could you share what features you're buying with that?
Well, with all of them, you've got to be careful when they say 12. You've got so much. You got 12 gigs of download. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Well, unless it specifies, once you've used 4 or 8, they throttle you down and make it slower. I also have a hotspot and I get 40 gigabytes a month for a hotspot, which some plans don't include a hotspot at all.
No, that's excellent then, I think. So I'm in another club where they're all insisting that Google Fi is the answer to everything. I'm still afraid to try it, that I won't get service. I'm in a bit of a remote area, but for whatever that's worth, or if you've ever tried that.
I haven't. My co-host on Tech for Seniors uses Google Fi when he's in the States. It's not available in Canada. And so he sold his place in Mesa and he's staying in Canada now year round. But he thought it was very good. But it's only available in some areas and you have to have them check to see if it's available in your area. I think the pricing on it is fairly good. I did not check the plans. I just was a little bit skittish on doing it.
Stephanie, yeah. Stephanie, you raised your hand. Unmute.
Gotta unmute for us to hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stephanie Nordlinger.
Well, anybody else while we're waiting, if she's having a problem or she just hit the hand and didn't realize it? Did we lose her?
Yeah, I have AT&T as well, and mine's the same way. I have unlimited, but you're right. They slow you down after you lose a certain amount. So yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, and I had an old plan on AT&T, and I can't even remember what caused it, but I had some kind of an issue, and they said, okay, we'll give you extra gigabytes a month, and every month I had 23 gigabytes of download included in my plan, even though I was paying for 6 gigabytes of download, and so I used it. And I had a phone that I got from them that I paid $15 a month for the actual phone. It's an iPhone 8, and I have one more payment, and I'm going to have to pay that $14.99 so I can get out of the contract on it. But I had to pay $20 a month for that phone, but I only used that phone as a hotspot because my phone, which was nearing 5 years old, when I used it for a hotspot, even if I just used it as a phone, the battery went down within hours. I couldn't get a half a day without it getting to the point where I couldn't use it.
Well, your plan is expensive because you're paying for the phone on installment as well as the
That's
usage.
correct, yeah.
So yeah, and mine's the same way.
Yeah.
Dick Vogel. Unmute.
Once upon a time, the choice of plans was often based on coverage area. Is that as much a factor today as it used to be?
I found yesterday I was in one place that I didn't have coverage at all here in Bradenton, which surprised me, and with T-Mobile, and I'm quite sure that I would have if I had still had AT&T. I think AT&T probably in this area especially probably has the best coverage, but T-Mobile, if you look at the maps that the different companies provide, T-Mobile has very good coverage around the country,
Plus they've acquired Sprint. So they've got Sprint towers too.
Nationwide, Verizon still has the best service all over. I don't have it. I have T-Mobile, but T-Mobile had to supply me with something that hooked into my router because otherwise I'd have no service. I had to literally go to one part of my property in order to make a phone call. Inside a house, I couldn't receive and I couldn't make calls.
We travel to Omaha twice a year to see our family, and Verizon is everywhere, but T-Mobile and some of the other third party are just not available. were very weak or only at the airport, something like that.
Yeah, if I drive from here to Mesa, Arizona, I have, as soon as I get into any town, I have service. As soon as you leave any town, there is no service. So, service is sporadic.
All right,
So
back
if
to
you
you.
travel a lot, Verizon is a good choice.
I agree.
One thing I did with my phone is I went to YouTube and just put in the model of my phone and started watching videos. And some of them gave me some settings to use right away. And boy, I learned a lot about how my phone works and what some things that I could do with it that I had no idea that could be done. And so no matter what phone you have, take the model number and go to YouTube and look up and watch the videos and pay attention. Don't do it when you're in your easy chair, or have the phone there so you can go look up the settings that they talk about, so on, and check. It was amazing what I found out that I could do with my phone. I had no idea. Because they don't give you a manual. They say, well, and the other thing about my phone, I had a Samsung S8 Plus that couldn't be updated and hasn't been able to be updated in a couple of years. And I bought a new Samsung, the latest Samsung. And while we were doing all the paperwork, the salesman started some software on the new phone and started some software on the old phone and did a couple of things with the accounts, plugged them together with a cable that actually came with the phone, but he had one there as well. And everything ported over. And so when he started up my phone, a couple of the apps I had to put in my name and password, but most of them, it retained all of that information, plus all my calling numbers, and everything was there. And it even knew when I got home, it even knew my house Wi-Fi because that was in the system. It was amazing how easy it was to move from one phone to the other. And boy, that to me was worth it, staying with the same brand.
And how many other phones did he copy that over to?
I'm sorry?
How many other phones did he copy that information over to?
Oh no, I was sitting right there watching him. And he had the wire in both ends of the wire. And so it took about, I was there probably an hour or so. And I went to another T-Mobile place before I went to this one. And then I also went to the AT&T place. And it felt like used car salesmen. They really are high pressure. And I got to talk to my manager about this, and I got to do this. It's a nightmare. I don't like buying cars, and now I don't like buying phones, but luckily, I had a guy who was pretty sharp, and he answered my questions. And as I said, he was able to port everything over, and was able to. I got the same phone number. That was done within the same hour I was there.
Stan, you want to lead us in?
Well, I'm back, and I see it's continued on nicely. So let's just keep it going.
Maybe you might like to mention what kind of internet connection you're using at the moment.
I'd be glad to. Some of you have heard the story that in my residential area, Seminole County in Florida, they decided to put wheelchair ramps at the corner, all four corners of the intersection of my street with one of the major roads that come off not a super highway, but a fairly main drag. So in doing so, they managed to cut the fiber optic cable that I was getting from CenturyLink, which provided my internet. Mike had previously on the TechSig talked about a T-Mobile hotspot that you don't have to be a T-Mobile phone person to get, but I think at the time it was $50 a month. And if you were in their service area, all you had to do was plug it in and it would provide, internet for you. Well, he had taken it to a couple of other places where they said, no, it wasn't going to be able to give you service. And I had already been to a T-Mobile spot looking at that, and they said, no, it won't work at your residence. But he brought it here and it worked. And I've had it now for, I guess, a week, week and a half, and I moved it up into a loft in the house, and it has increased the Wi-Fi radius so that the TV in the very back of the room now has TV as well. And so I'm very, very happy with it. And that's what I'm using right now to link to the internet to be able to be hosting this program. So,
One
much
of the things that impressed me when I came out to your house was looking at the control panel. It's a little round circular LCD screen that give you the typical 5-bar, up to 5-bar display. And we were only getting about 2 bars. And yet when we did a speed test, we were getting 46 to 50 megabits per second download, which is pretty good with only 2 bars of cellular reception. Once you moved it up to the loft, did you do another speed test to see what you were getting?
it didn't really improve it. It's just about the same. 2, sometimes 3 others.
So, and your signal's been pretty good today in the Zoom conference.
Mike,
Yes.
Other than the cost per month, and I can't remember, why am I thinking $50? Is that about right?
Yeah, the original offer was a discounted offer started back around Black Friday in November. And they offered the unit for free, and then $50 a month, no contract. You just had to return the unit if you decided to cancel. And my intention, because I'd had such bad cable internet, was to use it as a $50 insurance policy that I wouldn't lose internet. If our Spectrum cable went down, all I had to do was take one of the Ethernet cables and plug it into my router, and I was back up and running. And plus I had Wi-Fi everywhere in the house. So I think the plans have changed. The latest promo, I think something like a $50 gift card up front, still no charge for the unit. And I think the monthly price has gone up, but I haven't looked. But I think it's just as you were saying, Huey, you can go into the T-Mobile store and negotiate with them and say, hey, you know, I want to get it for the $50 a month price. You probably can.
What I'm thinking is some of the user groups that are out there that meet in places that don't have really good internet access because they don't pay for it, might be able to use something like that. They might have to test it to see if it works and if it's available, but that might not be a bad thing for a user group to have and move to the Denny's or the library or whatever and set it up and not have to worry about other people using the same Wi-Fi and cutting down on the bandwidth, or have access to it, to any, you know, have it insecure.
It has a built-in battery, and the battery powers the cellular transceiver, but not the Wi-Fi transceiver. And the reason is so you can do just that. You can disconnect it with a fully charged battery, which I've done, and you can walk around your house looking for the strongest signal strength, or you can get in your car and try to find the tower and then the nearest restaurant that you want to meet in and check it out as well. And I did that for Tom Alt, who's a member of our user group, and he had the same situation. He was stuck with an old AT&T plan that he said he had, the best he could do was about 14 megabits download speed. And I went out to his house and was getting 45, 50 download with the T-Mobile. And they had told him, no, you don't have a tower near you. And yes, they did. So once you've got proof that this thing works, you can go to your T-Mobile store and say, yep, I want it.
So Cheryl has a hand up.
Yeah, I was up in Alexandria, Virginia, just a couple of months ago, and I took advantage of this. I ordered one of those, and I am not a T-Mobile subscriber. So I did, you know, the first thing you have to do when you get the thing is pull down the app to start it. And then when I got into the app, I felt that it seemed to recognize I wasn't a T-Mobile subscriber. So I did have to get on the phone, but sure enough, they finally got me set up. Now there's a lot of 5G in that complex. I was getting speed tests of like 300 down. I was just astounded at how fast it is if you're, within their realm of service. I had talked to the original service person. I was saying, well, I'd like to, drive this around. And he said, oh, you can't do that. That violates our terms of service. And so I left it at that, but I don't know, I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't pick it up and bring it back to Florida actually to try it some here. Cause I've seen, some of the 5G antennas in Melbourne. And I don't know why they said that. And I hope they'll change their mind on it. But yes, I had unbelievably good service with it.
And there's really nothing to prevent you from moving it around.
It's,
Ivana, unmute, please. There you go.
What is the device called?
It's a T-Mobile 5G hotspot.
Okay.
And you can also, if you're searching T-Mobile, you look for home internet. And if somebody checks it out while we're still online, we'll put a link in the chat.
yeah, I think it's the home internet, T-Mobile home internet.
What they do is they have you enter your zip code and then they tell you if you qualify. And it's based strictly on tower location and what their records show. So again, I took mine and went outside the house, and I had 3 bars outside the house, and I went to the front yard and I had 4 bars because it was a direct line of sight to a tower that was about 4 miles away.
Okay, thank you.
Stephen?
Yeah, wouldn't you have a monthly limit on that, the same as you do on a regular cell phone?
Nope, no monthly limit and no, at least at the moment, no throttling.
Wow, that's great.
That's why I said, for me, it was $50 worth of insurance. I've been in too many projects in the middle of things, in the middle of the afternoon. My wife is a realtor and she's online all the time that she's home. And all of a sudden cable would just drop on us. And I just needed something to keep us going. So I'm very happy I got it. I'm gonna have to start invoicing Stan for his usage.
I do a Starlink report for Tech for Seniors on a regular basis. So I follow what they're doing. And with the events in the Ukraine, they sent a whole bunch of them over there for people to use, but they tell them hide it so people can't see the dish. And the dishes aren't, they're not really big. But one guy here in the States, what he did is he took one apart and flattened it down and then put some magnets in it and attached it to the roof of his car and tried it. Even though they say you shouldn't do it and you're not supposed to do it, he had it working and he was able to travel and get from the satellite, get pretty good speeds. He said he was going 80 miles an hour. It was a video I was watching. He was going like 80 miles an hour and getting good internet. But when he went under a bridge, another highway, he'd lose it for a second and then it'd be right back again on the other side of the overpass. But he said it worked pretty well. And as they get more and more satellites up there, I think they'll probably have special dishes or have a way to be able to pick up the satellite transmissions as well. So we're going to see a lot more the ability to travel and have internet everywhere.
It's going to be interesting this summer going into hurricane season here in Florida, and a lot of afternoon thunderstorms every afternoon starting in June, July, and August. And with the old satellite coverage, dish and direct, you just could not get your coverage during those heavy afternoon thunderstorms. And in many cases, when a hurricane was in the area, tropical storm, whatever, you'd lose your internet. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of penetration Starlink has through those kinds of weather systems.
Yeah, and the other thing about the like the T-Mobile thing, when you lose, if you lose your
tower.
cable, which is what Spectrum, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
If Spectrum goes out, you still have that for Wi-Fi. The only problem is if we have a hurricane, the towers are going to probably use power, so you're not going to have it anyway. You're not going to have cell. You're not going to have Wi-Fi then at all.
Yeah, we're just going to hunker down and play records.
Yeah, or sing to yourself.
The CBers will be out though. CB radio will still be online.
Stan, if you would like, I'll talk a little bit about Best Buy and then I'll turn it back to Q&A.
Okay, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, in previous main meetings and also mostly in the TechSig, I discussed the purchase of a nice new Sony 75-inch TV from Best Buy last November. Really liked it, put coverage, put pictures up. We discussed all the features, was watching 4K videos, had surround sound with Dolby Atmos going into my home theater system, and moving up from a 50-inch TV, more than 15 years old, was really wowed by the experience. And to protect myself, having purchased it from Best Buy, I bought the Geek Squad installation package because I wanted it put up by their professionals. And then I bought their 5-year standard Geek Squad warranty, which claims that you're covered for anything. And the word anything even appears in their warranty statements. Even things like surge and lightning strikes nearby. And unfortunately, I didn't really look at the ultra fine print that says, oh yes, but underlying this warranty is the original manufacturer's warranty, which from Sony is 1 year. So even though you've got the Best Buy Geek Squad warranty, Sony's takes priority. And thus started some of my problems. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. And you will see my question, is it worth it? We will see. So there's the TV set I purchased. Make sure everybody can see that. It's a Sony 75-inch. The price was $1,600. That's including, I'm pretty sure that was including, no, I had to pay tax on that too. Yeah. Around $1,600. Now this is a set that when it first came out was about $24.95. Then it had been on sale for $2,000 roughly. I'd seen it for $1,800, and right after, or just before Black Friday, they dropped it to $1,600, and I said, all right, I'm going to do this. And so I did want it installed and set up. And including in the setup was connecting to my home theater amp and showing me the different connections and different ways to use sound and the different apps to use and all the rest of that. And the whole time they were here, it was almost two and a half, 2 hours, something like that. So it was worth, to me, it was worth the $200. Plus I couldn't lift it and put it up on our wall mount. And they took the old TV down. A friend came over and they put it into his car and he took it away. And then I got the 5-year Geek Squad protection, and lots of people do argue whether or not extra warranties are worthwhile. For me, I did it because if something failed, I didn't want to be responsible for taking the TV off the wall and trying to ship it back and exchange it for another TV. And if something is 56 and larger, they don't do exchanges at the store. You may have gotten a friend to go with you with a big van or something, but anything over 42 inches or whatever is not considered carry-in for warranties. So that I felt the package put me back up around the original retail price if I just had purchased it. So gives you an idea of what I bought. I ordered it online November 20th, so that was just prior to Black Friday. I had to wait almost 3 weeks to have it delivered and installed, so that was December 8th. Got all the information off the set and registered it with Sony. Lots of people forget to actually register their expensive electronics with the manufacturer. So something I always do is register. Now, the one thing I forgot to do was actually take pictures of the back of the set's labels, which I found out later from Sony was one of the restrictions that I had to get in order to get a return authorization. So I won't make that mistake when the replacement eventually shows up. At any rate, for about a month, I had very nice television. About the middle of January, around the 17th, we started noticing sort of what I call a Maui, pattern on the screen. It's sort of like a rainbow prism type colors, just sort of randomly moving across the screen. And then every now and then, a section of the screen, like a whole third, a column of it, would give me a crosshatch pattern, black and white. And that didn't make any sense. And if you go to Sony and you actually go through their troubleshooting procedures, they tell you to do what's called a power off reset. Well, what they're really saying is TVs today are basically computers inside the TV set, and a computer has to be booted. So if you do a power off reset, you're actually rebooting the firmware. And that solved the problem initially. And the problems continued up until Sunday, January 23rd in the morning. I turned it on and the set was blank, nothing. Power off reset, nothing. I searched online again for problems like that, and they all said, you've got a problem, you're just gonna have to call warranty support. So I did call Geek Squad on a Sunday, not expecting very much, being a Sunday, and I immediately got an answer. Very nice response. Good English speaking gentleman. And he said, let me walk you through the troubleshooting. So we walked through the troubleshooting, which included disconnecting everything. And he wanted all power removed from the set, including things like I have an Ethernet connection plugged in, and Ethernet carries some voltage. I had an HDMI connection to my amplifier. He wanted that disconnected. I have a cable plugged in, which comes from a powered antenna in the attic. He wanted that unplugged. So literally everything was unplugged. No sources of electricity whatsoever going in. Wait about 5 minutes and then do a power on, and it was still blank. So they said, well, it's Sunday. We can't really get you anybody out there for about 3 weeks based on our schedule. However, you might like to try Sony first. Perhaps they can get somebody to you before the Geek Squad can. I said, oh, all right, why not? Well, I immediately called on Sunday, and they said, no, our business hours are 9 to 5 on weekdays. So the next day I called Sony. And once again, I had to go through the call center. Then from the call center, tell them what I had done. They transferred me to a troubleshooter. From the troubleshooter, I had to tell him what I had done. He wanted me to do the same thing all over again. And they said, all right, I need you to send us a picture of the back of the set. I said, it's on the wall. I can't do that. And they said, well, we need the label on the back of the wall. I said, I've got the serial number. I've got the receipt from Best Buy that shows the serial number. I said, no, you got to take a picture of the back of the set. I said, well, how am I going to do that? I said, well, that's your responsibility. So I said, all right, I'll do my best. I'll see what I can do. And it's mounted on a wall mount that if you loosen the screws, you can kind of angle it. And I got a shaving mirror, and I got the shaving mirror back up in there. And I was taking, the camera, and I was trying to get a picture of it and reverse the picture and all that. Anyway, I sent several emails. Finally, I called them back. they said, well, we can give you return authorization, but you're still going to have to get that to us in order to confirm it. And you're responsible once. Oh, I said to them, how's it going to come to me? And they said, well, it'll be shipped at our expense to your front door, and then you'll have to arrange to have it mounted. I said, well, I'm working with the Geek Squad. And they said, yes, but the Geek Squad is not involved in this transaction. So I called the Geek Squad and they said, no, if you're working with Sony, we can't do anything. So it was back and forth several times. Finally, on the 31st of January, I just said, okay, I got to get back to the Geek Squad and get them re-involved. Once again, 30 minutes on hold, first screener, second screener, get to somebody who knows what they're doing, look up to see if Sony, in fact, has a case established, back and forth. They said, all right, we can't do anything until we establish triage. I said, what's triage? They said, well, we have to have a technician come to your house and confirm what you're telling us. Says, you can't take a video. No, you can't take a photo. No, you can't take Sony's report. No. Okay, so first available appointment from January 31st to March 23rd, another month and a half. I had to wait. Now, keep in mind, I don't get a guy at my house from January 17th until March 23rd, or actually almost 90 days from January 23rd to March 23rd without a TV set. So out of desperation, I went to Best Buy again and bought a $150 32-inch TV with Roku in it, just so we've got a nice little 32-inch set sitting right in front of our big 75-inch set so we can watch something. Okay. Segue to March 23rd, triage day. Well, even that day didn't go well. I had an appointment sometime between noon and 8 p.m., according to the confirmation email. Then I got an email on the morning of March 23rd that said it's sometime between 2 and 6. Okay, I'll go take a car, get an oil change, do a couple other things. And while I'm there, I get a call from the technician. We've had a break in our schedule. We can come to your house right now. I said, well, I can't be home till at least noon. He said, okay, we'll put you down for noon. All right. Got home at noon. Nobody's there. Called the number. You're on for 2 to 6. I said, no, technician said he was coming at noon. Sorry. Don't know. Well, about 3 o'clock, the technician shows up. Well, turns out that all the assignments of the Geek Squad is done, let's just say 95% by computer. Sometimes somebody can intervene if they really want to, but they didn't. So somebody popped up somehow in the computer before me, and he didn't show up till 3 o'clock. They did show up. 2 guys came in with a fold-out table as if they were going to take it off the wall, but they didn't. And they said, well, let's see if we can diagnose the problem. I said, well, you're just going to get a black screen. And the technician says, where's my special control? And so his assistant went out to the truck, came back in with a control that looked just like the remote control I have, had a couple more buttons on it. Okay, so they do a power off boot, and as soon as the TV gets a power light, because he was saying if you don't get a power light, then it's got to be a power supply. And it got a power light. He takes his control and presses 2 buttons simultaneously. The power light flickers and does something funny, and a service menu shows up on the screen. So I'm saying to myself, aha, I got to get me one of those. Yet I haven't been able to find one anywhere. So anyway, the service menu shows up. He's got a bunch of stuff he can do, including diagnostic runs, and it comes up and says T-Con board. Now, I haven't looked inside a TV set like this ever. And Paul in our group knows all about these things. He used to be a repairman. He'll see this. We've discussed this as well. But anyway, there's a board called T-Con, and I'll take my mouse pointer. It's a square around it. And it looks something like this. This isn't a Sony, but it looks something like this with the back off the set. And from what I can tell, the T-Con is the interface between the signal board or the processing board or the computer that we have and the display itself. And whatever goes through here has to be processed properly in order for the display to display it. Now, it's interesting that the guys that were there could bring the menu up with a bad T-Con board. But, okay, it's a T-Con board. So what do we do about it? He says, well, all right, we'll just order the part. And when it comes in, we'll come out and replace it. How are you going to do that? Well, we've got this table, as you can see. We'll take the back off and we'll take the board out and we'll replace it. How long is it going to take to get a T-Con board? Well, there's unique for each model of set, and we don't keep them in stock, so we have to order them. Okay. How long is that going to take? Well, it could be a week or two. Okay. Then when are you going to come out? Can you schedule the appointment now? Well, we get the board in, then we schedule the appointment. So another 2 weeks on top of that. Okay, what happens if that doesn't solve the problem? Oh, it's pretty sure that's going to solve the problem. Yeah, but what happens if it doesn't solve the problem? Well, then option 2, which I've got here on the screen, we would report that the set is not repairable, and then we would get a replacement from Sony. And when the replacement shows up, then we would come out here and we'd exchange the TV sets. Let's see. Okay, how long is that going to take? Well, Sony has to issue the return authorization. Now, keep in mind, I've already talked to Sony, and Sony was ready to issue a return authorization if I took responsibility for installing it and returning the old TV set, which, by the way, I was going to have to pay Sony to send it back to them, not take it down to Best Buy if I could. So I said to the repairman, okay, suppose the T-Con is not repairable. Well, we can do it. Yeah, but you don't have it, right? That's true. Okay. How about reporting it's not repairable now? Yeah, we can do that. Okay, we'll do that. All right, now what happens? Well, we'll put our report in. The store will then notify Sony. Sony will issue a return authorization. Then they'll send a set to us at Best Buy. Thank goodness not to me. And then we'll bring it out and we'll do the exchange at your house. Okay, how long is that going to take? 2 weeks or so to get the TV, and probably another 2 weeks to schedule, so another month. Here we go. I said, well, let's go with option 2. Let's have you report it that way, and let's see how it plays out. Okay, so we play this out. I wait a couple of days. Now, getting towards the weekend, I figure, all right, this guy has probably submitted his report by now. Geek Squad ought to have that. But in order to get to it, sure enough, even though you call in, even though you've got your case number, they want you to go through troubleshooting. No, I've done all that. Take a look at the reports. Okay, then we got to send you to the exchange folks. They send you to the exchange folks. No, we haven't issued an RMA yet. All right. So how long is that going to take? A couple of days. All right. So now we're at March 28th. Still no RMA from Sony when I called the Geek Squad. I said, this is it. I gotta go down and talk to somebody at the store. And I've talked to Stan about this. I talked to other guys in the group about this. You know, they said, hey, you need to go down there and pick it at Best Buy or do something for the lack of warranty service. So I got there. They opened at 10 o'clock locally. I got there literally when the door opened, and it was the store manager who was opening his own door. And I said, hey, I got a problem. We need to get into this. He said, okay, give me a few minutes. Everybody came in. And I went through my 30-minute spiel about what had taken place. And he said, Mr. Ungerman, I'm really sorry. He said, but as a Best Buy store manager, I have no more authority than you do to get the Geek Squad to get anybody any priority to go outside their, their normal established procedures. But I will take the time to call them on your behalf. So while standing there at the front of the store and fielding questions from people coming in and getting other people and so on, he brought my case up on the monitor. We were on hold for 20 minutes to get the Geek Squad national call line. the person answering had to forward him on to the second person. The second person had to forward him on to the third person. Finally got the third person. Each time he's saying, I'm the store manager at Waterford Lakes, and this is case number so-and-so, and this is, and by that time we had a case number that the triage technicians had put in their report. And the exchange group now is no longer Geek Squad people. They are the insurance company that backs the Geek Squad warranty. Hopefully they understand some technical details, but now you're dealing with insurance. So he said basically to the manager, you're going to have to wait for Sony to do the RMA. And I said to the manager, do you have one in stock? He said, yeah, I do. I said, can you just use that? He says, no, I can't. He said, we have got these procedures established and it has to be done. So I said to him, and he's still on the line, I said, how long is it going to take for Sony to give me this RMA? Because they'd already done it earlier. He said, it shouldn't be much more than a couple of days now that we have all the reports. So, okay, I waited a couple of days. No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, I called the next morning just to see what had been done. And the manager is saying, or the Geek Squad is saying, no RMA from Sony. So once again, Monday came around and I said, I'm going back down to Best Buy and I'm going to go ahead and talk to the manager again and say, if you don't do something about this, I'm going to one of the local TV stations. There's once they have a group, a consumer group called 9 on Your Side. You tell them your sob story. If they think it's worth publishing, they'll go down and talk to the company and all the rest of that. But I couldn't find the manager that I had seen previously, and a different manager was there. Apparently they rotate managers and they have their shifts and the rest of that. So this manager says, oh, I can take care of that for you. What? Yeah, we do what we call a recall and replace. Really? Okay, what does that mean? Well, we've got a TV in stock. I said, yeah. He says, so the only thing I have to do is get you scheduled for an installation. So this was on April 1st. I said, when's your first day that you can do an install? He says, April 13th. That's coming up this Thursday. I said, you mean I've waited all this time and a previous manager talked to the Geek Squad, talked to Sony, and you're telling me now that I can do a recall and replace and you can take one from stock? Yeah, we can do that. So, all right. So let's do it. Well, while we were doing it, he said, what you really need to do in order to have no expense whatsoever in this process is return the 5-year Geek Squad warranty, because unknown by me, because this was still under Sony's warranty, even though the Geek Squad did the installation, even though the Geek Squad would take the old set down, they wouldn't install the new one. Now that doesn't make any sense to me. He said, but if you buy our Total Tech plan, it's only 2 years. It's got an annual fee, but it covers everything, including what you want to do. I said, I don't care, do it. And it was also cheaper. So I got a refund out of that. And I got home and I had previously, out of frustration, attempted to contact the corporate headquarters of Best Buy. And again, it's a push 1 for this and a 2 for that and a 3 for this and a 4 for that. But I had looked up and found the names of the customer service vice president and actually asked the switchboard to transfer me to his office. You get a voicemail. I gave them the 30-second version of my half-hour truce that I've just done now. And after I had talked to the manager, I did actually get a call from their staffer who apologized profusely and said, no, you shouldn't have had to do this. And yes, all the managers should be aware of recall and replace. We do this all the time, but nobody seemed to know about that, whatever. So to be continued on the 13th. Well, what I do want to show you, however, is, let's see if we can just minimize this. is show you what comes up with this 5-year standard Geek Squad protection, which right now is going for $339. And I don't know if I've got this large enough for you guys to read this. You know, they tell you you're excited to buy a beautiful TV, make sure you protect it. Geek Squad protects it and enhance your manufacturer warranty, gives you extended coverage when the warranty ends.
Right.
So there's the important, if something goes wrong after the manufacturer's warranty ends, rest easy. Now, this didn't used to be in there. And if you actually bought something and, you know, the cashier would promote it and the pickup guy would promote it and all the rest of that, yeah, you're covered. All you gotta do is bring it to us. You're covered with everything. You know, they make TV house calls, normal wear and tear, they'll replace it. Bad pixels or a shadow image will replace it. But, you know, based on what's above, if you've got one of these, they're not going to do anything. It's going to go back to the manufacturer. If you won't turn on because of a power surge, we'll fix it. Well, Sony probably would say, if your power supply is out, you probably had a surge, we're not going to cover you. So this would be good to have from the Geek Squad. But again, if it's not going to turn on and it's not a power surge, they're still going to go back to Sony. They'll replace the remote. Well, no big deal. You don't pay for parts and labor. Well, up to a point, because that's when I found out under this coverage, they'd take the old set off, but they wouldn't put the new set on. That makes no sense with no hidden fees. So I'd still be arguing with corporate over that. And you can transfer it and you can do all the rest of that. So I said, when they offered it, they said, what you really want is total tech.
Yep.
Okay. So peace of mind, right? Around the clock support. Okay. Plus up to 24 months of product protection. Okay. With an active membership. Free delivery, standard installation. Well, standard installation really isn't the kind of installation I got, but they said they were going to go ahead and do the replacement under this. So that looks pretty good. And there's a little short video. I think probably better just for you guys to go to Best Buy and take a look at it because you've listened to me long enough. But you get all kinds of savings. So they say free tech support available. You're supposed to have actually priority. Maybe they took the word priority off because back when they were promoting this, they were telling me you get your own priority telephone line. And oh, there it is. VIP access to dedicated phone line and chat teams. But it didn't take me that long to get the guy when I called on a Sunday. So I don't know that that's, you know, exclusive. Free 2-day shipping if you do buy something from Best Buy. If you're a Best Buy buyer and you have things. And if this set had failed within 30 days, I would have had no problems replacing it. It failed after 30 days, but within 60. So by me doing this and the fact that I filed my first complaint in January, this is what they're doing, the return and exchange. They're saying with this total tech support, I'm now within that 60-day window and I can do a return and exchange. So if I hadn't reported this when I did, and if I'd waited till February, I would have been outside that window and basically out of luck, I think, or I'd have to wait for Sony to show something up. So that's the direction I'm going in now. It's kind of a nightmare, but you know, it's a little better than no service, but the service I got is not what I expected to get. And I will stop sharing. Open for comments.
I have to wonder what might have happened if you had the same experience and you had bought it from Costco. Costco brags about doubling the manufacturer's warranty, and they also have a third-party warranty that covers it just as yours does. There was something on the bottom of the next to the last screen that you showed that all this is covered by, it was something like advanced warranty AIG.
Right. Yeah, they're all using insurance companies now, and I'm sure that's who they they transferred me to. I'm looking to see, says Geek Squad. Oh, AIG Warranty Guard. I'll bet you that A is Asurion. Because I'm pretty sure when I was talking to the exchange department, they told me they were the insurance company. I'm pretty sure that we were talking to Asurion.
And Asurion are the same ones that you break, I fix. That's Asurion.
Yep. Stephen?
Because their name is going to change very quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, I see Ted also has hand up, but I have a number of friends that use something called the Geek Squad for their computer service. Is this the same outfit that?
Yeah.
Okay. They seem fairly satisfied, but yours was really unbelievably complicated, I think, because of the large size of that TV and the fact that the people that you talked with didn't really know what the hell they were doing. So, yeah.
Well, the only way I was going to get that, return and exchange or exchange and return was if I went to this Total Tech plan.
Right.
And that's how the manufacturer or the manager figured it out. He looked at the days, he looked at the record it showed when I had first called the Geek Squad, and he saw that that was within 60 days. He said, I can unwind this whole thing. He said, I don't have to change the sale date of the TV, but I can basically have you return the Geek Squad warranty and then pick up Total Tech, and then I can do a return and exchange on the set.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. That's very helpful. Huh.
Tony Pizza? Unmute. There you go.
Yeah, just a comment. I have a friend who fixes TVs. It's a small shop, one-man job. He has a dozen or so big screen TVs sitting around on the floor that he repairs. He orders parts from China. When he gets them, he can fix it. But he says after a year, these things seem to be very fragile. They're not going to last 20 years. So I don't know. It may be something, even with all the hassle of the warranty, because no one else in our county fixes TVs, but he does, and even so, it's still an expensive job. But
Well, our member Paul Colton used to run a TV repair business, among other things, but he hasn't worked on the large screen TVs. And he was saying, if you take the back off, it's one of 2 or 3 boards. There's really nothing you can do with the set itself.
right.
And online, I came across a YouTube video. It was most interesting. It was a teardown of a large 65-inch, I think it was an LG set. And they showed the T-Con board. I could see where it was. And then they just literally took that board off of the display. And then they started taking apart the display itself to show, and it was a quantum pixel kind of set. And they were showing the different layers of these materials that are all actually built up from silicone or from fabric or from translucent plastic or whatever. One thing is screening for this, the other is screening for that, the other is diffusing it. And you finally worked your way down to this was an array of LEDs, and you could actually see the array going across, in a matrix of LEDs. And then he actually fed a signal through the T-Con board to the panel, which he could still plug in. And then he showed what he was feeding from the computer. And it was like one of these snake games where you would chase a snake around with a controller, but it had a definite pattern. And you could watch the LEDs come on and go off and come on and go off and come on and go off as the LEDs are moving around, realizing that being the source of the light, and then these panels taking the information that the T-Con board is sending over from the main board and turning that into a 4K picture is pretty amazing science.
That was an incredible video. I watched all of that. It was very complicated. I didn't understand all of it, but you can certainly understand why they're so hard to repair and why relatively few people are equipped to do it, especially not having those parts in stock, having to order them from China.
Well, the other thing I did ask them, I said, now that I'm doing a return and exchange, when does my clock start on the new set? And they said it will start on the day of delivery. I said, okay, I'm going to take you at your word, because if within 60 days now, this thing doesn't live up to what it's doing, I'm going to another TV set. You know, you can come out here and take us away, and I'll go to an LG Nano 4G set or something. Other than that, I like the TV when I had it.
Except for that.
Back to you, Stan.
Tony, where is your friend's shop? Where are you located? I don't recall.
Well, I'm in California,
Okay.
Long way to go.
a little out of range.
Yeah, from Florida, that would be a hike.
Well, you know, if in taking the back of this off is as easy as it looks, you know, taking the back off a notebook looks more complex. Based on what I saw in that disassembly video, you're just unscrewing the screws and lifting the back off. There's no electronic connections other than the cables that are coming from the plugs that are there. And they're all jacks that you can unplug. So if one of those, like he said, it's a T-Con board. Okay, so if I could actually order that T-Con board myself, find a place for it, if that truly were the problem and it's now my expense, and I hire somebody to take it off the wall, and then I had the board, plug it in, just screw it on, plug it in, put it back up on the wall. You know, it's a simple repair. And if my son lived closer, you know, the two of us could do it. But 75-inch is out of the range of things I can handle myself.
They're not that heavy anymore, but
This one was 120 pounds. My old 52-inch Sony was 160 pounds.
Yeah.
But the new ones, you're right. That little 32-inch set, I don't know if it was 10 pounds. It was, you know, probably less than 10 pounds. And I think the 46-inch sets aren't much more than 10 or 15 pounds.
Yeah, I have a 55-inch TV that had a similar problem to what yours did. And I went through the same rigmarole that you did. I ended up taking the back off and went to YouTube, and they have how to do everything, including how to order the parts. And the parts are not that expensive. So it is something. I have not fixed it. I've not done that yet, but apparently it's fairly easy. And the 55-inch is incredibly light, as big as it is. It is quite amazing.
I remember going to the Consumer Electronics Show, and they were showing what they called the picture frame TVs. And literally it'd be like maybe 3 pounds, if that. It would just look like it's as thin as a picture frame and look like a picture frame, and just had a little cable coming out of the bottom, which would go to a control box that had most of the electronics in the box. So that's just hanging it on the wall, and you got a box feeding it.
Yeah, I have a 58-inch that I was fairly easily able to handle, and it's good. It's a Roku TV. I've got it right now, as a matter of fact, watching the Indy race. But yeah, they are delicate. That does seem like they break down. Like this TCL, I had only had that for a little over 2 years, and it failed. So yeah, they're throwaway TVs. So.
Yeah,
The 55-inch LG that we've now had for 8 years, and I have a 70-inch LG that's now 4 years old. And knock on wood, none of them have ever needed any service.
and that's what I was hoping for.
And we had 5-year service on each of those sets. The first one is long past its warranty. The second one, I still have 1 year to go. I don't expect to have to use that either. No indications of any problems.
Electronics has what they call infant mortality periods that can be up to 90 days. where, there's actual statistics that are kept on how many of these complex electronic things do fail in the first 90 days.
Same with the computers. They usually go right in the beginning. If they don't, they'll last forever.
Power supply issues sometimes.
Yeah, I have an LG, 65-inch LG set that's several years old and it's working just fine.
So hopefully the new Sony that comes Thursday will do the same. We'll see.
Well, very good luck with that for sure. And thanks for taking the time to get us caught up. Appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
All right, if you'll,
Point of information, AIG is an insurance company and it's not a Syrian, which is you break, I fix. AIG has, it stands for American International Group, and they're part of, let's see, AGL, which is American General Life Insurance Company.
it's huge. They do annuities and, life insurance. They're
Yeah.
a very big insurance company for sure. I think they were part of the meltdown, 10 years ago?
Well, it used to be, at least I don't think it was like it is now, but it used to be at Best Buy when you bought the Geek Squad package. You just walked in there. If you had something that was broken, they'll go to stock and get you the other one. You walked out with it. It's hard to do with a 75-inch set, but they're telling me essentially that if my son and I had put this in the back of our Chrysler wagon and taken it down to the store, they would not have exchanged it with out of stock. Now I realize, they would have if somebody had known about this, switching me over to the Total Tech package. But apparently, once the 60 days are passed, if this thing fails, say at 90-day point, I'm no longer eligible for that. And I'd still have to go through the remainder of the warranty with Sony and still probably have to pay for the installation, although I would probably dispute that and go back to corporate because I now have a contact and say, hey, okay, you told me you were going to take care of it. Yeah, if anybody wants a point of contact with Best Buy corporate customer relations, I've got his name and his phone number. Give me a call or send me an email.
I think the bottom line is read the warranty very carefully, including the fine print. Make sure you know what you're getting.
And take a picture of the serial numbers on the back of the set.
Before you hang
up
it.
that information. I have a Vizio that if I go into the setup, it will give me a page that I could take a picture of on the screen.
They don't want that. They don't want that. I said, I've got everything for you. They even wanted a picture of the black screen not showing any menus. They said, send us a picture of the menus that you're getting. I said, it's black. I said, well, send us that. I said, okay. And then they said, send us a picture of the serial number on the back of the set. I said, I've got a picture of the serial number. It was on the label that was on the box. Plus, here's the Best Buy order that, fulfillment receipt, delivery receipt that's got the serial number on it. Nope. Got to see it on the sticker that's on the back of the set. Oh, well, they'll have it this time.
I was helping somebody with an Epson printer. And one of the things that Epson wanted was for us to open it up, take a picture of the serial number, and then a picture of the cartridges, the ink cartridges in there, so they could be sure that we were using, the authentic Epson. And I don't know why they wanted a picture of the serial number inside the actual printer, but that seemed very unusual to me. Oh, one other thing was somebody else called me to help them set up a HP NV6000E flatbed scanner. He had one just like it. It was on Wi-Fi. And the second one, trying to put that on the system, having two identical ones was really a challenge. I wound up having to take his off the system, give it a slightly different name. At one point, I couldn't print on either of them. And then if I printed on the second computer, it came out of both printers. That was hilarious. Finally ended well after took his out of the system, changed the name of the second one, then came back on again, and they were both okay on the Wi-Fi. Okay, let's move on. I've got something I wanted to share. I'm going to share my screen. This will be very brief, but it's similar to what you were. Whoop. You have to, so whoever's host has to enable me to share, please.
Okay, that's me. And let me do something first while I'm thinking about it. I'm going to share my screen and then I'll give it to you. Don't forget what you're going to talk about.
I've got it.
I did a presentation. I think it was for Tech for Senior, and it's got its own video, and it's called my website of the week. Terms of service didn't read, and there is the website name. But if you want to watch the video, I'll put it in the chat box right now. And there it is. It's a website that actually gives you the ins and outs of a lot of the terms of service on different websites. So just something to think about and take a look at. It's worth watching. Now, let's see, I got to give you access. Let's see where you are here. You should be able to share now.
I'm doing it. Thank you. So let's see. Here it is. Here's an article that I came across recently, similar to your 50 points about security and what not to do online. This is only 10 points, and I found it very interesting. I have several friends who, they get a lot of mail from the Nigerian princes and they want to test it out. They can't believe all the special offers they get. But this was, I thought, remarkably, stay away from the testimonials. They're only a testament to gullibility. Documented proof is neither documented. Guarantees are no guarantee. It's not fine to ignore the fine print. Waste of savings, seek and you shall find. I'll put the link to this in the chat for you. You can get it and go through. Use the help you already ordered. Watch out for free stuff. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, so let me bring up the chat. I'm not sure how I end sharing at this point.
At the very top, it says stop share in red.
Ah, yes, I see it. Okay, great. And so now I will bring up the chat and type message here. Okay, so there's that link. And let's move along. Who else has something they'd like to share?
I got something else I want to show.
Okay.
If I may.
Please.
Let me change this here and go to junk mail. Oh, I deleted them all. Nuts. I can go here. I have my email address of the Huey.net is through GoDaddy. And they changed the way they do it. And they now put me into an Outlook, online Outlook. And that's how I get my, how I can get my mail online. And this is my deleted items. They're usually in my junk mail and I just tell it to clear them out. But you will see here, oh gosh, no, that's not right. I'm sorry, I can't show you because I deleted them, but I will find just hundreds of these in just a couple of days of emails that are offers of Nigerian princes and all kinds of crap every day. and it filters them out and puts them in that. Sometimes I have to go in and check it on a regular basis because sometimes good emails get in there. But it's amazing how much of that junk goes out and how badly it's worded and how bad the English is. And I mean, it jumps out at you that it's scam and why click it? But some people are just so inquisitive, or I wonder what it is, or I wonder why they're doing this, and they'll just click on the link and just go to it. And that's the worst thing you can do.
I had one that came through as a text, and it knew that I was a T-Mobile phone customer.
No, it didn't.
Well, it seemed like it, and it
No,
talked.
they
you know,
send it out to
they had this-
everybody with that assumption that you're a T-Mobile. And if you are,
Maybe,
it makes it look like you are, that's to you.
but this was related to T-Mobile has a Tuesday special. You get texts and you can get special prices on things. So this told me that I had won a contest and it was going to be a free iPad. And all I had to do was fill out the form on the next page. Well, I looked at it and it had more information than I was willing to give. And I went to the T-Mobile store. I was checking out the hotspot. I brought that up and showed it to the guy who I bought my last T-Mobile phone from. And he said, you know what, the biggest problem with the phone, getting bad texts and emails, is if you have one of these third-party light and telescope kind of thing, you know, on your phone where you can, you know, magnify what you're looking at and take pictures and PDFs and email it. He said those are notorious for gathering a lot of information and then sending you. Usually they're just trying to sell you something, but this, he said, was a real scam looking thing. But he said, get that magnifier off your phone right away. And I did, but that was incredible. Okay, who's next?
A question for Huey.
Okay.
Who is that in the red shirt behind you?
I have no idea. It's a picture I got from the internet.
Okay.
I think it's some kid looking for his porn stash up there in a corner.
I'm just making a comment on when Stan mentioned the printer that he had, his Epson printer. I was talking to someone yesterday who has an Epson, one of those ones that have the tanks. He got it 4 years ago. He says he's printed 10,000 pages because he counts how many reams he goes through. And he's still on the original tanks. I mean, if that's so, and they're good quality, makes pictures, it's a good endorsement for Epson printers that I'll just pass along. Does yours have the tank, Stan, or you have cartridges?
Cartridges. Yeah, mine was a relatively low end, all in one. It wasn't a flatbed. It was the kind of, it didn't have the automatic feed like multiple pages. Yes, it did. It did have that. Yeah, it was a little bit more elaborate, but it was like $100 printer at most. And it was working reasonably well, but it kills me that if like the magenta cartridge was out of ink, you can't scan, you can't copy, you can't do anything with it. I believe there's ways to trick that, but I don't know what they are.
Leo Laporte used to advertise those ones with the tank. I can't remember the exact name, but apparently they last a long time. I personally use a laser printer, and I just get cheap compatible cartridges from Amazon, and they last a long time too.
I bought a printer on the recommendation of Glenn from Smart Guys Computers in the Orlando area. Sanford, when I lived in Orlando. And I've been here 7 years now, so it's older than that. It's a Brother. I'm still using it. I buy refill cartridges from Izzy in Brooklyn, who spoke to CFCS many years ago online about printers and cartridges and so on. I buy them on a regular basis from him at, I think it's about $6 or $7 a set of four different colors. The CYMK, and been very pleased with it. It still works. And I got my new phone, and now not only can I print from my phone, I can even use the scanner part. I just have to put the pages on the thing, but it will scan as well. So I've been real happy. It's a Brother, and I've had it for years, as I say. And two of my neighbors bought the same one. One of them, his finally died, and he gave me all his extra cartridges. And the other one's still using his, so.
Anybody else have Brother printers, and what do they think of them? Particularly Brother lasers or AIOs.
I have a Brother black and white laser that is extremely easy to use and has lasted for years and very inexpensive to put in a new. Again, I don't use Brother cartridges. I buy third party, and they seem to work well. $6, $8, $10 for a cartridge that lasts about a year. I don't print a huge amount, but I'm very happy with that.
This is
I have two
Go ahead.
brothers.
But
I have two brothers, and they're rather old, and they work flawlessly. I have no complaints with them.
Donna?
Yes, I was going to say, I have a MFC. It's a multifunction. So it's a fax, a scanner, and it's a printer, but it's black only. And mine's ancient, and it works like a charm, especially in Windows. In Linux, the scan isn't quite working properly. I can't use the button on the actual machine I have anyway. But as far as Windows goes, it works perfectly. And it's so cheap to run. I mean, I just get like everybody else says, the generic black cartridge, and it works like a charm. Printing is nice and clear. It doesn't, so it's a laser. It doesn't smear like some of the inkjets.
Yeah, I mentioned that Glenn from Smart Guys, I called him and I said, do you sell printers? And he said, no. I said, do you recommend it? And he says, well, I use Brothers. That's all we have. If that was at that time, but he said, that's what I recommend. And I can't buy them wholesale as cheap as I get them online. So he says, and I don't have to worry about servicing them for other people and so on. So he just recommended it for me, and I bought it. I think I bought it from Amazon, but I'm real pleased with mine. And I say that, and it'll probably break tomorrow, but.
Thank you.
I have a question for Stan, actually. Stan, that 3D printer lecture that Swami gave last meeting was terrific. How did you meet him? He's an old friend of mine. I hadn't seen him for a long time, but that was quite good.
Actually, Forrest Cheek, who's been a member of CFCS for many years and is on our board of directors, he met him somehow, I think perhaps through genealogy, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And he did make a presentation to us many years ago that everybody remembered. And I finally been talking to Forrest and why don't we see if we can get him again? And sure enough, I found him through Facebook. Huey knows him through Facebook as well. And he was great. So Huey, please do get that out, put that on your to-do list. And
And actually, I want to, because of the situation the last few weeks, I haven't been able to, but I want to get a hold of him and have him redo it from his office. So he does it really smooth and does a nice job, and then make it available for other user groups. I thought it was the best 3D printer presentation I have seen, which really gave a pretty good understanding of how they work and what you need and so on.
Have you looked at the recording that you did get?
I just glanced to see that I got one. So.
I
So that reminds me, actually, Mike Ungerman was going to get with Swami and get some kind of automobile part printed out. I wonder if he ever did.
No.
No. You've been busy with TVs, I take it. Yeah.
Does anybody there use HPs? I've been using an HP for about 4 years at least, and I signed up for their instant ink program.
Oh, yeah.
They have a way of checking your printer.
Yeah.
And when it shows low ink, they'll send you 4 cartridges for free. And I got one package just last week.
When was the last time you got one?
Oh, they last a long time, probably about 6 months, 7 months ago.
And you print more than most people because you print everything, right? You have a paper copy of everything you read and do, right?
Not everything, but a lot of things.
Yeah.
They tell you how much you print, and they say I print 200 pages a month.
That's not bad. Is it color? Is it a color? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and their service is 100 pages or 300 pages. And then if you use up your 100 pages, you can buy 10 pages for $1. And as many as you want for that particular month. And then at the end of the month, end of your pay period, they give you another 100 pages. And I've been happy with it.
Yeah, Ron Brown just bought an HP printer with that service.
The biggest thing I noticed with HP, we had HPs originally. We had 2 HP multifunctions and an HP color. And all of them at one time or another would have problems, whether it was firmware problems, printing problems. And if you think about it, HP is the only printer manufacturer I know of that actually has a dedicated print and scan doctor program. And they have that because there's things that just go wrong in the settings in your operating system or the settings for the printer. And if you've installed it and all of a sudden they stop working and there's not something mechanically wrong with it, they tell you run the HP print and scan doctor and it'll go in and do its magic and all of a sudden it starts working again. And about 5 years ago, my wife's multifunction started doing that. And we were running print and scan doctor at least once a week. And that's when I replaced it with the first brother. Haven't had a problem with that brother. A year later, my HP did the same thing, replaced that with a brother. And about another year later, the color printer had problems. And I said, okay, that's it. And we got a brother color laser. So all 3 brothers, no problems at all. And we just had a history of HP. I don't know what their problem is with the manufacturers or their firmware development team, something. But if they've got to have their own dedicated print and scan doctor routine, it strikes me that they know that there's a problem. They're just not willing to spend the money to fix it.
I haven't had any problems in the 4 years that I've had it.
Good.
Maybe longer.
I hope you never do.
Yeah, me too.
I just had a deal with, it was about a 6 or 7 year old multifunction that had been working fine and then suddenly stopped. And the print doctors came up with a problem with I think it was a magenta black or something. It was 2 colors, print head. And when I checked like Office Depot locally, nobody had that in stock. They didn't even have the cartridges for it in stock because the printer was old enough that you had to order them online. But the print head was going to be $90. And then it was like $90 to replace all four of the print, no, two print cartridges. They were dual, no, they were four. There were four print cartridges that were going to be also in the $90 range. So with shipping and everything else, it was going to be close to $200. And they just said, no, I can buy a decent printer for that. And said, let's just scrap it. So I took it to Staples and they said, yeah, they'll dispose of it, ecologically. Okay, printers are problematic. I'd just like to make a quick announcement regarding some upcoming meetings of the local group. Tuesday, the 12th is the Apple SIG evening at 7 o'clock. Wednesday, the 13th, the Linux SIG, which is just had two people joining us. Thursday, the 21st is the Board of Directors meeting at 6 o'clock. And Tuesday, the 26th is our tech SIG at 7 o'clock. These are all online, nothing in person or hybrid yet at this point. So, all right, anybody else have anything they'd like to make, any announcements or questions or items of interest?
Tech for SIG tomorrow at noon.
Oh, absolutely.
At 11:30. Last week we filled up the room with 100. We hit our 100 limit. And so if you can't get on, you can go to YouTube and watch it on the Tech for Senior YouTube channel.
Okay, I'll process the video tonight. We'll try to get it out tomorrow sometime.